Hi everyone, and welcome to another video in my Buying a Property series on residential property in New South Wales. I'm Alexandra, and in today's video I'm going to explain the critical step in securing the property you wish to purchase, which is known as exchange of contracts, or simply exchange. This is the act through which you actually enter into a legally binding contract to purchase a property, and it doesn't just involve signing some paperwork. As always, I invite you to please subscribe and hit the like button. I'll be posting a new video every week. A quick disclaimer that my videos are general and informational in nature only. They're not intended as legal advice and shouldn't be relied on as such. Please see the full disclaimer in the description box below. Okay, so you have found the one. The question is, at what point do you enter into a contract to purchase the property that binds you and the seller, who's known as the vendor? When you agree on a price? When you sign the contract? Well, the answer actually depends on whether you're purchasing the property by auction or by private treaty. If you're purchasing a property at an auction and you are the successful bidder, you are bound to enter into the contract when the auctioneer's hammer falls and they confirm that the property has been sold to you. Immediately afterward, you and the vendor sign separate but identical contracts which you are both bound to. That is, you've both entered the contract. On the other hand, if you are purchasing a property by private treaty, you enter into the contract when you exchange contracts, which is a little different to how you exchange contracts at an auction. So, what is exchange? For a private treaty sale, the contract is made in duplicate and both contracts must be identical. You sign one of the duplicate contracts as purchaser and the vendor must sign the other one. You and the vendor don't need to sign the contract in front of each other. Generally, you will each sign your contract in front of your respective lawyers or the real estate agent, who may witness your signature, although witnessing is not mandatory. However, with a private treaty sale, you have not necessarily exchanged contracts simply because you and the vendor have each signed a contract. One more step needs to take place first, and that is the actual exchange of the two contracts. The vendor ends up with your signed contract and you end up holding the vendor's. So how is this done? It depends on whether you're exchanging contracts the traditional way, physically in paper, or the digital way with an e-contract on an electronic platform. I'll explain a physical contract exchange first and then the increasingly common digital method. If the contracts are in physical form, before the contracts can be exchanged, both signed contracts need to be checked page by page to ensure that they are actually identical. I can't stress enough how crucial it is that both contracts are identical. They must have exactly the same terms, conditions, attachments, details, amendments, etc. This can stretch to hundreds of pages, but it is important because generally, if one of the contracts has been changed in any way, it may be argued that exchange of contracts has not occurred and the whole sale may fall through. It's particularly important in a situation when one party has perhaps changed their mind and no longer wants to go ahead with the sale or purchase and is looking for a potential way out of the contract. So you might ask, how can it be possible for two contracts that start out identical to end up different? And there are many possibilities. It may occur, for example, if there's been a misunderstanding and one of the lawyers or real estate agent makes a handwritten amendment to one contract, thinking that the other duplicate contract will also be changed in the same way. A scenario might be that the real estate agent asks you to sign your contract and you explain to them that it was agreed between the lawyers that one of the terms in the contract should be struck out, or that there was an agreement that you could pay a smaller deposit, etc. And the real estate agent goes ahead and makes a handwritten amendment to the contract to reflect this. But the same handwritten amendment is not made to the vendor's signed contract. This could end up being a big problem. It means that the contracts will not be identical, which may mean that the contracts were not exchanged at all. The problems that can arise around the contracts being identical at exchange are largely solved, however, with the introduction of exchanging electronically on a platform designed for this purpose. Generally, this will involve the vendor solicitor uploading one electronic contract. Just make sure it's the version that has all the correct negotiated amendments made to it. That contract is then sent to the purchaser's solicitor via the platform. The purchaser's solicitor will then arrange for their client, you, to securely sign that contract electronically via an email link using your smartphone or tablet or similar device. The vendor does the same, and when both the vendor and purchaser have each signed the electronic contract in this way, the vendor solicitor can click an exchange button on the platform and voila! You have exchanged contracts and the contract is now legally binding on both parties. However, a crucial step and condition of exchange going ahead is the payment of a deposit. Whether you're purchasing a property at auction or by private treaty, you must also pay a deposit at the time of exchange of contracts. I have a video dedicated to deposits, so please check that out. It's linked below. To summarize, at exchange of contracts, you and the vendor sign identical contracts which are exchanged. You pay a 10% deposit and usually hand over what's known as a Section 66W certificate waiving your cooling off rights, which, to keep this brief, I discuss in another video. Now, what happens after exchange of contracts? Do you receive the keys to your new property? Can you now take possession of the property because you've bought it? The short answer is no. Buying a property is a process. So stay tuned for the next video in this series. As always, please remember to subscribe and hit the like button if you like this video. Please share it, and if you'd like to make an appointment to engage my services, please follow the link in the description box below to contact me. If you have any topics you'd like me to address in future videos, please leave a comment in the comment section, as I'd love to hear from you. I hope you found this video useful, and thank you for watching.